In Chapter 2, we start exploring data. Example 2.2.1. Suppose you have the following data for which type of car students at a college drive. How can we analyze the data? You can see here, this is just a listing of all of the responses from the students. It isn't very meaningful. There's not a lot we can get from it as is. But some of the things that we can do are organize the data so that we understand how many of each type there are. We could also draw some charts, and we'll do that in another lesson. Let's start out with sorting the data. So one easy way to analyze it, let's summarize it. I'm going to start out just by listing the different types of cars in a column and then tallying how many of each that we have. If we're doing this by hand, let's start out with a category and we'll do a tally. And the tally is just our informal way of counting. At the end, we'll put the frequency so that we have that information easier to read. So we have the first one, Ford, Chevy, Honda, Toyota, another Toyota, so I'm going to put a mark in the Toyota column, Nissan, Kia, and we can do this and keep doing it until we get them all down. So if you're trying to do this along with me, this would be the point where you should pause the video and see if you get the same tallies that I get, and you can resume in just a few seconds. I'm going to cut out my work, mostly for the sake of time. So feel free to pause and come back when you're ready. Okay, hopefully your chart looks like mine. There is something that we could do, mostly for the sake of simplifying our chart a little bit. We have this group down here of singles. 1 Kia, 1 Mercedes, 1 Porsche, 1 Hyundai, 1 Saturn. What we could do in the table, instead of listing those out, is replace it with an other category. It is your judgment call whether to do this. If you think it is important to keep these singles in the table, then keep them. We could group them together as an other and make them 5. And I know the textbook does that. When we're talking about analyzing the data, and when we get further into our lessons on statistics, there's not only one right answer for a lot of these situations. You have to use your judgment too. What do you think is best? What information do you need from the data? And how should you organize it? And once we have our data organized, we can create what's called a frequency table, which is a more formal arrangement of this. So let's come over here. I'll do it on the right. I'm going to leave my count on the left, and basically all I'm going to do is eliminate that middle column. So the tally column is really only there to help you count the number of data values that you have. For us, a frequency distribution or a frequency table, you can say type of car and then frequency. And then just like over here in our table, we can list them out. Ford, Chevy, Honda, Toyota, Nissan, and I'm going to group the last 5 as other. And then for the frequency, we just write the numbers in there. Some frequency tables have a total. It turns out when we add these up, we will get 50. And so this is one way to organize our data as a frequency distribution. We're going to take this frequency distribution next and use it to create some tables. In my next video, I will show you how to take this frequency distribution on the right and use it to create different types of charts and graphs, both by hand and inside Excel and or Google Docs.